Let justice roll down like water, righteousness as a mighty stream. For our grandsons and granddaughters, remember to remember the dream. Welcome to Songs and Stories from Home, as we continue to share and remember the dream. In the news today is yet another murder of a young, unarmed black man killed by two white men who, until visual evidence of the crime proved otherwise, were questioned by authorities and then set free. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s became part of the American consciousness 65 years ago when a 14-year-old boy, Emmett Till, was kidnapped, tortured, and killed by two white men found not guilty by a jury of their peers, in this case, other white men. Two white men who would later sell the story of their murdering ways to Look magazine for $3,600. We remember Emmett Till largely because when what was left of him was returned to his mother in a sealed box, a box that she was advised to leave unopened, she looked and forced us all to see. In images published first by Jet magazine and later by Time magazine, considered now among the most influential images in this country's history. The story of the civil rights movement, a story that belongs to all Americans, is one of the most important moments in American history. In part because the presidents at the time did not see good people on both sides, but chose to be on the side of the Declaration of Independence and the idea that though we are not the same, we are all created equal. Important because the Congress chose to act in that same spirit, passing the Civil Rights Bill of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act in 1965. The Supreme Court also, with rulings like Brown versus Board of Education, helping make the words in the Declaration of Independence the law of the land. And yet 65 years after Emmett Till's murder, it's as if we are still struggling to decide who we are as a nation. Let justice roll down like water, righteousness as a mighty stream. For our grandsons and granddaughters, remember to remember the dream. As the door of the pilgrimage bus opens at what feels like some God-forsaken place in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, known as Money, I wonder, has there ever been justice for Emmett Till? The thought returns when we're standing in front of the dilapidated and derelict remains of what was once the store, where 14-year-old Emmett Till, visiting from Chicago in the summer of 1955, was accused of making some unwanted overture to the white woman behind the counter, Carolyn Bryant. For that, Till was dragged out of bed from his uncle's place and brutally murdered by Carolyn Bryant's husband, Roy, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam. There's a loneliness and a sadness to what remains of that store. The living bones of a long-ago moment that haunts to this day. The bus continues on to the restored courtroom in Sumner, Mississippi, where Bryant and Milam were put on trial 2 weeks after Emmett Till was buried. The town's slogan proudly displayed on the sign outside, "A good place to raise a boy." And the courtroom feels like something out of To Kill a Mockingbird. And we stand where Mose Wright, Emmett's uncle, who had witnessed the kidnapping, stood and pointed to the defendant, saying, "Dar he." Some say the first time a black man ever accused a white man of a crime in the South and lived. Moe's right, feeling threatened enough that after the trial he left for Chicago, leaving his truck and unpicked cotton in the fields. So what makes Emmett Till's killing different from the many less remembered murders, including over 4,000 documented lynchings that took place in the South? Mamie Till Mobley, Emmett Till's mother. Without her, her son's death would be just another outrageous, anonymous sin against Black America and Black Americans. After his torture and execution, what remained of her son was shipped to her in a sealed box, which she was strongly advised to leave unopened. She looked, forced the world to see. Jet magazine published pictures of the gruesome body. Next to it, the picture of a smiling 14-year-old boy that body had once been. Time magazine selected a Jet photo of Mamie Till Mobley looking at the mutilated body as one of the 100 most influential images of all time. It's hard to look away. Carolyn Bryant would later recant her story, and after their acquittal, Roy Bryant and his half-brother sold the story of how they tortured murdered Emmett Till, to Look magazine for $3,600. The ghost of Emmett Till will not go away. A sign that commemorates the spot Emmett Till was pulled from the Tallahatchie River has been defaced and replaced 3 times since 2008. The latest is made of steel, weighs 500 pounds. They say it's bulletproof. If it's not going to meet the fate of previous signs, it better be. The only chains that I can stand are the chains of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize.